Oh, it's very interesting that you said it's all about enjoying yourself and not worrying too much. Don't take it too seriously with doing the competitions, because when we have to perform in music, we always think, we need to get it right, we can't make a mistake, mistakes are bad, we just give ourselves all this negative self-talk, we take it really seriously.
Way too seriously.
More than what we do in practice. So when we're practicing, we always think, we've got this, on the day, it'll be fine.
Oh yeah, exactly the same.
On the day, you stuff up and then you stop and you're like, this didn't happen at home. I was okay at home.
It feels so bad too, because you know you can do it.
Yes.
Like in practice, you score your personal best, and then you're like 100 points below. Like, what happened?
Yes.
And you just feel really depressed about it. You just go home like, what's wrong with me? You just get really upset, and that makes you shoot worse next time. So it's a real battle, trying to fight this, self-pressure.
Yeah, and then you have to overcome this. So then you have to learn, okay, after I fail this one time, how do I get back on the field or get back on stage and perform again? Because you learn through failure.
Yes.
And that's the thing with sports or music. You need to continually make mistakes and then learn from it, improve, do better than the last time when you performed. So you always have to continually improve, and you have to get over that mentality that mistakes are bad. So what's your take on it? Because of course when you're doing sports, you're going to end up shooting the arrow off the field.
Yeah, you'll miss, you'll lose, you shoot poorly. These things are normal. And this is just the flow of archery is sometimes you come out and you shoot really well, you're in the zone. I think that's what it is. When you practice well, you've got a good mentality, you come in with, you have low expectations. Don't expect too much of yourself. You do your best that you can, and you're in the zone and you're shooting really well. And then there are times that you don't. And that's normal. And the more you do this, the more experience you have in coping with it. It's like with archery, you have maybe 120 arrows in the competition. You shoot one bad arrow. And for someone who's not used to that pressure, that one bad arrow will ruin the rest of your competition, because you keep thinking about the one thing you did, and it just plants a seed of doubt in your mind. So every time you do the next shot, you're thinking, last time I did this, it didn't work, so I'm just going to do this next time. And it creeps in, it just keeps creeping in. And when you've dealt with this a few times, I'm pushing my mind now, I'm disciplined, I'm just doing the current shot, just the one thing I'm doing right now, I push everything else out of my mind.
That's very interesting that you said there's 120 arrows. I didn't know that. I thought that you only get a few arrows and that's it, that's your only shot at it. Because in music, we've got maybe 1 page to 2 pages of music, and that's a lot of bars. And a lot of the students,
mistakes you make,
over one little bar, they think about it, and then it just makes everything after that just go downhill. So a lot of the times I get my students to work on the first few bars, just get it right, because if you can start off nicely, you've got the confidence to continue on. And you don't want to be thinking over, having a really bad start to a piece. And like what you said, that you've got 120 arrows, and then if you're just, being worried about that one arrow that you missed, that's very, it's kind of like a pity.
Yeah,
you've got 120 arrows, it's just one arrow.
I mean, at the very highest level, that one arrow might cost you the whole competition.
Exactly.
That's at the very highest level, okay?
Yes.
But the thing is that you can still maintain a very high score. And the other person might still make a mistake too. It's not like, oh no, I've doomed myself. Okay, at the very, very top elite level, yes, one mistake can cost you. But most of us are not at the very, very top elite level. We're just shooting at a local competition, and it's not that big a deal. You'll still finish top 3. So it's not like, I think that reminds me of like when you play music. When you hit the wrong note once, you hear it and then you just freeze.
Yes.
And you're like, what do I do next? Do I stop playing? Do I keep going? And you're playing and you keep doing the one note you missed. And it gets to you. It just undermines your entire performance. I think art is the same sort of thing. That one bad shot just breaks you down, and you can't shoot properly, even though you know how to. What you've practiced 1,000 times suddenly goes out the window because of this one bad shot.
That's very interesting.
Breaks down everything.
Yeah, because like in music, I always say to my students, mistakes are not bad. If you stuff up one bar, just keep going, pretend nothing happened, finish nicely. And like what you said, just one bad shot, you can still be in top 3 if you just stay focused.
Yeah, put it past you, it's done. You can't change it. You can't go back and reshoot that.
Yeah.
So it's done. It's what counts, what you're doing right now counts.
Yeah.
Every following thing you do counts, not just the last thing you did. So you got to put it out of your mind.
Yeah. So whether it's sports or music, just one mistake doesn't cost you the entire game or the entire performance. So just remember, mistakes are not bad, but then if you can just overcome after making one mistake, how to continue on and pretend nothing happened. That's the key to succeeding in sport or music.
Yeah, no, as a learner, you need realistic expectations.
Yeah.
You can't expect to be perfect in your first few days, in your first few months. You've got to accept that you are going to get better over time, but that means you have to make the mistakes along the way.
Exactly. So then just keep in mind, mistakes are not bad, and you should use it as a way to help you improve. Now that brings me to the next part. I want to compare music and sports. So in music lessons, the first thing we do in first lesson is we teach the student how to sit, introduce the student to the instrument, the different sounds it makes, how the instrument makes a sound, and also explore the patterns on the piano, and maybe even play a song or two. So in archery, what do you do in the first lesson?
Yeah, first lesson is, for most people, it's the first time holding a bow. So it's about showing them the safety first, because archery is safe, but you don't want to point the bow at somebody and let go. So archery is very safe, so walk through the safety rules for the range and how to handle equipment safely. And then we teach them how to stand on the line, how to hold the bow, how to hold the string and the arrow, and go through the process of how to do a shot. And we watch them carefully in the first set, so they do it right. And then we give them free shooting, so they can shoot. And as they shoot, we observe and add more feedback as appropriate. So we make the point not to stack somebody with all the theory and all the techniques right away. It's kind of a learn as you go.
Yeah. So playing around on the bow first.
Getting used to it, getting more confident. And if they're doing something really wrong, we'll point it out, we'll show them how to do it correctly. But for the most part, we don't have very high standards for first-time shooters. So as long as they're roughly doing the right thing, we're okay with that. And then over time, as they're more confident, we'll show them a slight tweak, maybe pull it closer, or move your shoulder, or change where your hand is positioned. And these small things we'll keep in mind. So it's more of recognizing at that point what they need to know to improve. And some people don't need that much information. They just want to have a bit of fun and have a shot. So you have to recognize that these people might just be doing as a one-off fun activity and not thinking about becoming professional archers. So they have to be realistic in what they want to achieve.
Okay, so it's very similar, the first lesson of a music lesson and an archery lesson. Yeah, so fast forward, 3 months later. So 3 months later, after having weekly lessons with the teacher for half an hour, a student can expect to be able to know where the notes are on the instrument, be able to play maybe 20 tunes or more, and maybe have completed their book 1. So they could play short tunes and just the basics of the reading of notes and reading music. So 3 months for archery lessons, what would you expect to have achieved?
3 months is an interesting milestone because at 3 months, that's when most people buy their own gear. That's the biggest barrier in becoming an intermediate shooter from your beginning days is, do you have your own gear? Because club gear is just generic stuff, it's mix and match, and it will be different every single time. Whereas when you buy your own gear, your learning accelerates because it's your personalised equipment. You've picked the bows just right for you, the arrows are just right for you, and we can teach you based on your style and your equipment. So that's usually when most people buy the first bow, if not sooner, then around 3 months. So by then it's kind of like a renewing your learning, because now you've got your own gear, now you've got to shoot properly with your own gear now, rather than our gear. But by then, like a lot of people, if they come frequently, they know the shot process, so they don't need to be told on how to stand, how to hold the bow. They can actually shoot quite well with club gear now, which is quite achieving, so how random it is. So yeah, they can confidently shoot a 10-meter target, and look at one of these targets here. They can hit the goal probably like 8 out of 10 times after 3 months, and after a few weeks you can do it as well. But yeah, after 3 months, you can confidently go, I'm not going to miss a target ever. First lesson you'll miss a lot of times, but after 3 months, actually it's not that big a deal anymore. So it's just hit the middle and just repeat over and over again. A lot of them are very confident. So at 10 meters, which is our very close beginner distance, they get their confidence, and now they're getting their own gear, and they're starting to regain their confidence with new equipment.
That's interesting that you mentioned they start to buy the gear at 3 months, because a lot of students that are at the primary school or at the music school, a lot of them start off with the keyboard first, and they usually outgrow the instrument by the 6-month mark. So let's fast forward to the 6-month mark. So we've got students who start to look into buying a digital piano or investing in an upright acoustic piano, because they might take it seriously now. So they've passed the 3-month mark where it's like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to continue with this and commit to this. And then they hit the 6-month mark where they've outgrown the keyboard, or they find that the instrument that they were hiring, they have to think about whether they want to own their own instrument. So at 6 months, they're starting to now take it a bit more seriously and actually consider, oh, maybe I should start doing exams or doing competitions or performing at school. And they start to actually have this different mentality on music and go, all right, this is not just something I'm just going every week to just have fun. I actually need to go to my lessons. I need to practice every day. I need to really pay more attention on how I'm gonna improve, because I'm gonna have my own instrument now. So at the 6-month mark for Archer, what do you go through?
Well, I think the same idea is start thinking about competition. I mean, not everybody wants to. Again, some people just do it socially, just want to do it for fun, and that's fair. But people who are going down that typical progression pathway, 6 months is when you should aim for competition. Are you ready? Well, probably not. But you want to start getting experience, which you don't want to wait 2 years for first comp. I waited for a long time, so over a year, nearly 2 years. And most people at the competition did the first one after like 3 months even. So when they bought the first gear and the club's hosting the event, they'll join the event because it's just the experience if anything else. So yeah, 6 months. We expect to be confident enough to shoot a rather reasonable competition. So you're not competing at a high level, but at least being able to like go to it, last the whole day, and shoot a personal best. So yeah, you have your own gear. You've done some technical tuning, and you're more familiar with what you're doing. You're shooting well enough where you can hit a target, up to 30 to 50 meters. And again, at the long distances, missing is normal. This is why people kind of get really worked up about it. I might miss the target. Well, even at a state championship, which isn't that big a deal. Like a state championship is simply a big name for a local event. It's normal for people at long distance to miss. Now, the top shooters would never miss. That's different. But the people who are going through this pathway, you can tell where they are. It's quite normal to miss. And for them, it's like, okay, I missed a target. Well, I normally miss anyway, so that's not any different from what I normally do. But with more time in training, that becomes less of a problem, becomes less frequent, and you get more confident long range. But like I said, at about 6 months in, it'd be nice to do competition because most people who put time in are confident enough that they can shoot long distances and compete at a decent level.
So from what I see is that archery at the moment, I think maybe because a lot of people are training adults, am I right? So it feels like they're a bit faster when they're learning it, because at 6 months they're already able to prepare for competitions. Well, for us, a lot of the students we have, their children, and maybe they're working adults as well. So they have to be at the 1 year mark before they can start to consider, maybe I can start preparing for an exam. But definitely at the 1 year mark, they could have the confidence to perform at a concert. So their very first concert, performing in public, is after they've learnt for a year, and then they've learnt maybe 50 to 60 pieces already. and they can choose one of their pieces to perform at a concert. So usually at the 1 year mark, a lot of the students can play really well with their sight reading. They can read sheet music that they find on the internet, or they can buy sheet music online, and they should be able to pencil in all the notes and then figure out how to play it on their instrument. Maybe not to the highest level, but then at 1 year they should be able to read notes, play in time, and play it basically, just fumble themselves through the piece, and then the teacher can guide them and polish it up for them. So at the 1 year mark for an archer, so what could you expect?
Yeah, 1 year is a tough milestone, because by that point a lot of people drop out.
Yeah.
That's probably saying music is why
Yeah.
you start seeing a high dropout rate.
Yes.
I mean, we say on this ideal pathway, but I don't see many people last more than 1 year. That's so sad, because they've put time in, they've actually bought their gear, spent thousands of their gear, and you don't see them after a year, and it's just really heartbreaking to see this, because they might be looking really good.
Yeah.
So that's when things, the plateau happens, and they stop turning up, they've got family, they've other commitments, they moved house, they found a new job.
Yeah, that's very
especially
interesting.
adults as well.
Moving house is a big common thing, because a lot of the parents are moving for the zones of the different high schools. So a lot of the students end up moving towards their zone, and then they might change multiple teachers.
Yes.
So then how about for an archer? Let's say you're from one club and then you're going to another club. So then does that change?
Not really. The main thing is, like, for most people, they don't get a lot of personalised coaching. Now, for those who do have a personal coach, it might be a private coach, or might be the club coach, then a good coach will build a relationship with the archer, and the ones who are serious about competing will work very closely with a personal coach. The same goes in a lot of sports, like in athletics, for example. You have your own personal coach. So those who are serious archers do have a personal coach. For the average archer, there's a club coach who will come teach everybody. And there's not that much difference between coaches. There is a standard method, and there are some nuances where coaches will push one thing more than another. Does it change that much? Not necessarily. The problem with the archery side is that there aren't that many clubs. So on the east side, for example, of Melbourne, there are quite a few different clubs you can go to, but on the west side there's like 1 or 2. So you don't have that many options. So people who move may simply stop doing the sport because there's no more nearby place. Where possible, they join a new club, but a lot of people can't. Like, once you have that break, you don't come back to it. You need to maintain that so consistently that I'll take a month off, and I don't feel like it anymore. And then that bow you bought is now sitting in your garage. So.
That's the thing with piano and musical instruments. There are many music teachers around Melbourne, so whichever area you move to, there is a teacher available. And when you have too many music teachers, it becomes very confusing for the student. Yes, there is a standard way, like how to read a note and how to count, but the thing is, some teachers emphasize on particular things more than others, or some people have a different style of performing and playing that another teacher really dislikes. So that's the problem with music lessons. We don't have the option of not having that many teachers to choose from, so we've only got a few, but we've got too many teachers to choose from. And then there are some teachers who are better with children, some people who are better at teaching advanced only, so you need to know your notes first before you go to them. Some people just like teaching children who can't read and just teach them from scratch. So there's just so many teachers around that for music we can't have that many teachers, and I'm not quite sure whether the student will benefit from a few teachers at once either.
Same with archery, where you have a coach who knows you, and they often tell you if you go to a different club, don't listen to the coach. Not because the coach is bad, but because they will teach you different things what they've taught you. A lot of things work if you actually follow it, but if you keep on changing things, then things kind of break down. It might be this coach wants you to do this technique, whereas this coach wants you to do this technique.
Is it possible to have two coaches at once?
It's really not recommended, because the one coach is he's the one who knows you best. Even within a club, when you get handled between different people, I mean, you might have one general goal, but the way they approach, the way individual archers approach it will be very different. Now, sometimes you get a lot of good advice from somebody else, and you can incorporate that into your own style. And the coach will always respect that. They might question it and challenge it, but they will respect what the individual chooses. So if you want to do it this way, that's your choice ultimately. And if you know what you're doing, then that's fine. But a lot of coaches have a hard time letting go because they know that's why they've done it for decades. It works for them, it should work for you. If you don't want to do it my way, then fine, be a renegade. So it can be tough because people take ownership, but having more than one coach generally isn't helpful because you want someone you go to all the time for their advice, for their technique, for their training and mentoring and feedback. You go to somebody else, they don't have the same insight as you. So that means that they don't understand why you do certain things. And one of the problems I have as a youth especially is seeing people who give random feedback. They watch you shoot, they go, you shouldn't do this. They don't understand why you're doing that. Or they might say, you should do this. But they explain why it's done. So people are just copying off each other and just following it's not bad advice, but it's blind advice because they don't understand what's gone into the process. And it's like, imagine saying music, there are different variations of playing instruments. Somebody might play a violin or piano a certain way, and a teacher might say that's wrong, but that person makes it work really nicely because it's their style and they make it work well.
And that's what I wanted to talk about because what you just said about someone giving random comments, that's just like exams where the examiner gives you a comment. They don't know who you are. You've worked really hard to go and do your exam, and then suddenly you get a comment saying, "Oh, I just didn't feel it," or it wasn't the right mood, or it wasn't organic. Like random comments like that where the student goes, what do you mean? Like, how do I improve? Even teacher looks at these comments where the examiner goes, all right, there are some things that, I didn't really appeal to me. And that's not very technical. And it's like going, well, how do I improve? It's such a random comment. I played well, my interpretation I thought was well, but then you didn't feel it. And it wasn't the right style that you enjoy. So that's very interesting what you just said, like random comments.
Yeah, I mean, like a good comment or good feedback is you need a pathway forward. So it's a structure where this is what I observe, this is why I think it might be wrong, and this is what you can do about it. And when you're missing those steps, especially what you can do about it, it's not actionable. And if you can't act on it, it's not good feedback.
They're
saying, you're too stiff. How do I fix that? Am I meant to be floppy? You need something more helpful than that. So there's a difference between giving feedback and just criticizing somebody. It's critiques and criticism, and that's different.
And that's something I think a lot of the examination boards should do, where the comments that they provide is you give a feedback, but then also suggest how to improve it. Instead of going, okay, you're weak in this area, this area, this area, now work on these areas and come back. And that's something that I think what you mentioned was good. Give that extra on how should that person improve instead of just criticizing it.
Yeah, I agree. It's good teacher feedback in general. You can't just tell someone they're wrong. You've got to build them up to it. So I guess for someone who's a coach, they will generally be reluctant to point out what's wrong because they accept that there are different styles. People will do it differently, and that's okay. They might not like it, but they'll keep their mouth closed and they'll say, okay, that's all right. And especially in archery, you have a result. If you're shooting okay, if you're hitting the target, then it doesn't matter what you're doing really. Like some people think, oh, his form's pretty bad, but he's a world champion, so you can't argue that really. So we have a result. It's like if you play the piece really well, then it doesn't matter if you sat like a slouch. You're still playing really well. So I'm saying with archery, where if your technique might be so bad, but you're still winning world championships, then I'm not going to argue that. Really, I have no defense against that. So, well, like I said, like a lot of things can work, and the coach or the teacher has to respect the individual learner style, and a good coach will build that connection and respect what the individual goes through it, while at the same time providing that guidance. So they're not forcing them to do certain things, but they're guiding them through their journey.
That's very good that you mentioned that. A good coach respects and guides the student, because that's what we do as well. So a lot of the times when you go for music lessons, the teacher goes, you have to do it this way, this is the only way, you have to use this book, you have to learn to do this, and then the student really doesn't get to play the pieces that they want to play. So they might go, I want to learn Furley's, and then some teachers might go, well, I don't like you learning the easy version of the release. You must learn the proper version.
Yep.
So you need to actually learn how to read your notes and then wait a few more years before you can play the full-length version.
That gets me. So you have to do it this way.
Yes.
And even archery, you have to shoot this bow. It's like, well, what if I want to be a traditional shooter? No, you're going to shoot an Olympic style. You're going to buy this $2,000 bow, and you're going to use it like this.
Yeah, and then it makes it not fun anymore. You're like, well, I was here to kind of learn and have fun, enjoy myself, take my mind off things, and then suddenly now you're making me
competing. Now that you compete next round, and it's so often it's good advice anyway. But when it sounds like it's not a choice, that's where it turns people off.
Yes. So I think that's very good what you mentioned about how to be a good coach, how to be a good teacher, because I think to be a good sportsman, to be a good musician, we need to learn how to teach our art to someone else. And if you can actually teach someone else your art, then that means you are pretty good at what you're doing.
Hopefully, anyway.
Hopefully, exactly. Well, I would like to think that.
I don't think I'm a good archer, but teaching and doing it are different things. Like the skill to teach somebody, not every good athlete, not every champion is a good instructor.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true too. But the thing is, like, if I think the professional can learn to teach what they know to someone else, that would just make them a much better musician as well.
Oh yeah.
So then that's the thing. I think they just haven't put the energy and the focus on learning how to teach someone, because it takes a lot of patience. It's frustrating teaching someone, especially when you want them to do well, but then they're just taking you for granted.
Or especially if they're not as good as you. That hits hard, because as a teacher, you've been through it, you know everything already. The learner's going through it, and not respecting that gap, that that lack of understanding. You've got to let them make the mistakes. You've got to let them work it through. And you're guiding them. You're not doing it for them.
Yes.
And a lot of people who are very accomplished athletes or teachers in general, they don't have that patience to just go, let them make the mistakes. They do it my way, trust me, or else your fault. It's not healthy that way.
Exactly. Or they just tell you what to do. They just go, okay, play this louder, play this softer, and just do it this way, this one way, do this way.
My way.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, in archery and in music, there's so many different ways.
And different styles.
Yeah.
My style of archery is different from someone shooting traditional.
Yeah.
So I can say, do my sport style for your hunting.
Yeah, pretty much for hunting.
Yeah, it's different.
Actually, that's very different.
Yeah.